It is Monday morning, September the 1st. What? What? Rise and shine. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather, and we are tracking wet weather. There's a area of low pressure that has started developing off of our east coast along this old front that was started last week, a very slow moving system that started in the Gulf. Very interesting. And either way, we're just kind of watching all the moisture from it. So let's first start off with a live look outside. Let's check in on our tower cam network. There's the Kennedy Space Center. It's not the prettiest of mornings, right? It is dreary. We're watching all of the rain impacting us. Let's go to the quad box showing some of our other tower cam networks around Central Florida. Same kind of idea from the Kennedy Space Center in the bottom right corner. We've had a few showers in the tourist district, bottom left corner, and even New Smyrna Beach in downtown Orlando. We're watching the clouds, not necessarily like a full on overcast to complete washout setup, but we're definitely watching the rain. So, to our first warning, live Doppler radar we go. Scanning around, and before I do anything, I just need to check and make sure. All right, we are. Looks like we are perfectly in line with the other radars. So let's start in the metro. I understand it's Labor Day, not a ton of people laboring, but here we are tracking the rains and nice heavy swath just east of the metro, out near Bithlow, Wedgefield, Corner Lake, out toward Lake Hart, Lake Mary Jane, Narcoossee, Brevard County, Port St. John. Watching a little bit of that rainfall. Titusville, heavier band of rain moving into your area. Can I also just say, like, I love our live radar. That resolution is second to none, truly. Our radar signal processor is the highest resolution in the market, period. Doesn't even come close. All right, further to the north, Lake Mary, Geneva, Lake Jessup eventually working heavier stuff into the 417 up near 434 in Winter Springs. Further to the north, out near Lake Ashby, it's pouring, working in around Edgewater, New Smyrna Beach. There's DeLand, some nice heavy rainfall, Paisley, northern Lake County. Further north from there, LPGA Boulevard, Ormond Beach, Holly Hill, and even into Flagler County. From Flagler Beach over to Bunnell, there is a lot of rain, a lot of moisture. Yeah, mid to upper 70s out the door. Here's a look at our 12-hour forecast for today, starting with the clouds and the showers. We'll get into some thunderstorms this afternoon, but there's just going to be a lot of, wait for it, a lot of wet weather in the forecast today, right? So just plan accordingly. Have your umbrellas ready to go. No matter what your plans are, just know that it's there, right? We've got a lot of energy in here. Jeannie Rowan says today calls for a fancy coffee. There you go. Nothing wrong with that. Mickey says looks like a low spinning by Cape Canaveral. Yeah, a little piece of energy started bubbling up there. So here we are, right? Tracking the rainfall. Right? So we're going to keep the radar box in the bottom left corner of your screen throughout Coffee Talk. If you're watching it live, if you're watching it on the tape delay, then I do apologize. You know, you're not necessarily going to get the live inset box in the bottom corner, but the information we're chatting about will be valid. But you can see there in the bottom corner, there's that area of low pressure that's developing. Now, because it's here, because we're talking about a pretty wet forecast, I need to point a couple of things out. First off, your Labor Day includes rain, morning, noon, and night. So plan accordingly, right? I mean, it's not going to be like a complete washout everywhere all the time, but there are going to be scattered showers the entire day. So let's do this. Oh, and before I even get to Futurecast, one other thing that I need to at least point out. There are wind advisories in effect for coastal Flagler County, winds 25, 30, 35, gusting to 40 up that direction. The reason that I mention that is because I want to look at our Futurecast model, but I want to do so with the winds. Because that area of low pressure is developing, obviously, we're starting off with these scattered showers. And those scattered showers are going to continue. So let's just roll Futurecast through time, all right? 9, 10, let's pause at lunchtime. Widespread rains. Do notice Palm Coast. Now, these are wind gusts. Palm Coast gusting to 30 miles an hour. Daytona Beach gusting to 20 miles an hour. 20 miles an hour is kind of the magic number, but it's higher up in Flagler kind of because of where this area of low pressure is developing. Let's look at 2, 3, 4 o'clock. Widespread showers gusting to 30 in Palm Coast, right? Here's 6, 7 o'clock, still with showers around. 8, 9 o'clock. The winds are still gusty, but the shower activity kind of comes down in coverage, but still lingers. And then look at tomorrow morning. Still with a few coastal showers. 10, 11, 12. Not as widespread during the day, but of course, into the afternoon, we get those thunderstorms. So basically, if there was a washout kind of forecasts, today's going to be the day. And when I say today's a washout, I don't mean everybody gets rain all day. Instead, what I mean is that everybody's getting showers at some point in the day. It's not necessarily hanging out just in the afternoons. So Labor Day is always a good beach holiday. Surf today 3 to 6. And I would say yesterday it was like 2 to 4 when I was forecasting. So things have gotten a little rougher in that forecast, right? High risk of rip currents. Probably not the best day to go to the beach. Just going to be honest with you, okay? It's one of those soggy, crummy-esque things, kind of like there's a slow Gulf low crossing the peninsula and moving over the Atlantic. Slow Gulf low. Now, where have I heard that before? I digress. Yukon says, watching it on a phone, that box is the size of a fingernail. I put effort into making that box, Yukon. Eh, it's there. If you watch it on a computer, it's there. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I'm trying here, okay? Don says, just in listening mode, too tired to type. I get that. Oh, do I get that. Now, given the rain opportunities these next couple of days, I would also add that we've got the threat for flooding the next couple of days. Today, it's kind of hanging out on our East Coast communities. Tomorrow, a little more of a like I-4 metro off to the south. And then Wednesday, a bit more widespread. And Wednesday is when our rain chances really do go up. So, just in kind of looking at the overall setup here, the next few days have plenty of rains around, but yeah, it's going to be a better opportunity for rainfall, it looks like, particularly tomorrow, Wednesday, I should say. So here's a look at Central Florida's certified most accurate 7-day forecast, and there it is, the clouds, the showers, the storms. If you're ready for a break, if you're ready to kind of get back to the blasting heat, I don't know who is, but I digress. We're looking at like Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because here's the setup, okay? Stormy air over top of us. Here, actually, nope. Hold on. AM. Stand by. Here's the overall setup. All right, we've got this old front hanging over top of us. Looking ahead to our Tuesday, that front still sticks around. We keep with the moisture. Wednesday, as that front lifts back north, we throw more moisture in. And then by Thursday, we look to bring in and start a narrow opportunity for some subtly drier air. So, in the meantime, as long as we keep all this moisture with us, we are going to keep cloudy, we are going to keep wet, we are going to keep stormy. All right? That's basically where we're at today and the next couple of days. All right. So, in just kind of looking at the overall setup, breezy, cloudy, showers today, but late week, that's when we'll get the sunshine returning. All right. Oh, it's Cam in this morning. I didn't get a chance to watch the morning show because I did the night shows last night. So, all right, Cam's in this morning. Very good. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? Taylor says, try harder, Burris. Listen, I'm doing the best I can. I can only do what I can do. And I'm not even, I've gotten to that age where I'm not even going to apologize for it. It is what it is. Oh, man, oh, man. All right. Let's see. Let me get caught up here. Was your on air appearance last night scheduled in advance? Yes. So Marquise just hasn't taken vacation time yet this year. So the assistant news director and I were talking, and she handles the schedule. So she's like, "I'm going to need you to work that Sunday." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because Marquise hasn't taken any time off yet this year." And I was like, "Ah, say no more." So listen, we have to take care of each other. Do I love working night shifts in a sea of morning shifts? Not necessarily. But Marquise does morning shifts in a sea of night shifts. Manalfi does morning shifts sometimes, or plenty of sixth days. Kellyanne, it is what it is. So, when we hire somebody on our weather team, one of, if not the biggest piece of the puzzle, in addition to, on-air knowledge of weather. Like if you have to know weather, otherwise forget it. You're not here. But once, okay, we've established you know your stuff, the absolute number one thing is being a team player. Because being, a fairly small department, I mean, we are a big weather team, but in a fairly small department of you got to take care of each other with vacations, etc., there's no room for a non-team player. I've worked with them. It's flipping awful. So, really grateful to say that our weather team as it stands today, full of team players. Anytime I've ever needed it, Marquise is there, Kellyanne is there, Cam is there, even Manalfi's there. And I tell the story, my first sick day at Wesh, I didn't even call out sick. Manalfi watched me and was like, "Dude, you look like garbage. Take the rest of the day off. I'm going to work tonight. Figure it out." Like, he didn't even ask. So, yeah, there we go. Michael says, take your time off before the peak of hurricane season. Well, in Marquise's case, take your time off before, because it's September, October. November is not, we can't take time off in November because of a sweeps month. I digress. And then December, there's so many vacations because of the holidays and because Marquise hadn't taken any. It's like, buddy, we got to start doing that because if you don't take it, you're gonna lose it, and it's very important. So anyway, I'm off of work today, and I'm off of work tomorrow. I'll still be here with you, and I'll still be doing coffee talk and tracking the tropics and all that stuff. But am I going to be putting on a suit? No, I'm not. Yeah. Janice is asking, Eric, did you fly to the FSU game on Saturday? Sure did. Yep. That's just amazing. He hasn't taken any time off. So he served in the military, and so a friend of mine who's also a veteran was like, "Well, that's the military mentality. You don't need to take time off. You don't take time off." But if you don't use it, you lose it. So I'm glad even if Marquise is literally just sitting there looking at the rain out the window, or going to the gym, or going and having dinner with friends, I'm just glad the guy's getting some time off because he is a work machine. I mean, it's September. He hasn't really taken time off. Good gravy. Can't do that. Me, I'm 19 years with February. I'll celebrate 20 years with the company. I schedule all my vacations out January 1st. Put it all in. So to that point, I've had it all kind of worked out. All right, all right. That's it. Back to weather for a minute. Any questions, comments, concerns about our local forecast? Anything at all? Questions, comments, concerns? Otherwise, we can transition and we can start talking about the tropics. Sound good? Anything at all? Going once. Going twice. Three times, lady. Okay, fine. All right, to the tropics we go. And here we are with a fairly quiet tropical Atlantic, frankly. Love that for us, right? Like nobody wants to deal with much in the way of hurricanes and hurricane season. So to that point, let's just do that. All right. So to that point, let's just kind of look around and see where we're at. All right. So first off, the areas that I'm watching, at least on a personal note, we've got off the coast of Texas, a little bubble up. Really, I would say probably we could see some sort of at least a highlight from the National Hurricane Center east of Florida. The slow Gulf low has crossed over and is now there. Um, have to see how that plays out. Elsewhere in the North Atlantic, an old front doing its thing. But let's just come to the wide perspective here for a moment, okay? Hold on. Let me hit that. Let me hit that. All right. Off the coast of Africa. That's something we're watching. Let's come over here and take a look. Out near the Cabo Verde Islands, just south of the Cabo Verde Islands, as a matter of fact, there is an area that has some potential for tropical development. National Hurricane Center giving it a medium 40% likelihood of development over the next 7 days' time. All right. And frankly, the computer models have been hinting at this. I wouldn't even say they've been hinting. I would say that they're more discussing it. So let's go and let's look at the raw model data, and we can go to the full basin view just because this is something that's way out there, so we can just kind of track it as it moves across. So off the coast of Africa, first off, notice over Florida in this time frame, the blues, like still this is Wednesday afternoon into Thursday, still keeping sloppy moisture over top of us. So that's why these next few days are going to be kind of not perfect. But moreover, look in the open basin, right? There's that dot off the coast of Africa. That's this area that we were watching developing little by little. Becomes, we think, a hurricane, tropical storm hurricane. That's next Tuesday, September 9th. There's Wednesday morning, September 10th. Wednesday, of course, the peak of hurricane season. And it recurves. Love that. Now, at the same time, while it's recurving, and you can't see it because of the radar box there, but don't worry, I've got you, fam. Let's zoom in. At the same time, something in the Caribbean wants to start doing something. And then what we end up with is at the very end of the run, a little something down in the Bay of Campeche around the 17th of September. Interesting. All right. All right. That's the GFS. Let's re-rack it and go over to the European. We'll go back to the basin. Well, first off, around here, sloppy, crummy weather. Got it. Back to the basin view. And there it is in the central Atlantic, something trying to develop. European brings it. And another thing. And then it ends up kind of just developing something over us around the 15th, 16th. That area of low pressure well off of our shoreline. And then there's something else out near the Cabo Verde Islands around September 16th. So the euro is a little more active. Let's look at the euro AI just because why not? Sloppy over us. One, two, couple waves, a little homegrown deal. And then a little something. Look at this. Let's come a little closer here. A little something trying to develop around the Turks and Caicos, not necessarily significant, but a rainmaker going right up the peninsula around the 14th, 15th, 16th. Interesting. Yeah. All right. Let's look at the ensembles, shall we? GFS ensembles. And if you're new to the Coffee Talk machine, ensembles basically are the Euro and the GFS. We just rerun them like 80 different ways just to kind of see. All right. So threats for us. GFS. There's the Hornets from that thing now. Staying away. And then something homegrown perhaps in the Bay of Campeche around the 16th. All right, let's look at the European ensembles. Maybe something along that front late this upcoming week. Nothing crazy. There's the Hornets out east of us. Meanwhile, other Hornets out in the Gulf. So you've got the thing developing now, staying off our shoreline, but another something perhaps homegrown trying to develop in the Gulf. Um, so there's some consistency there. Let's look at the Euro AI. There's that thing that we're watching start to develop now. It's east of us. And then the Euro AI, at least one or two or three of the ensemble members has something trying to home grow in the Gulf. So, okay. Nothing huge, nothing grossly significant, but there's hints of something. So, okay. Well, there's something there to keep our eyes on, right? Now, One thing that, of course, impacts all of this is the Madden-Julian oscillation. And there is a system in the Pacific, so it makes sense that the Pacific is hot. We are not. We go a little in phase on Wednesday, right? And that's the time frame where we could be watching this thing try to get going, right? There we go in phase. Then we kind of go back in phase around the 10th of September off the coast of Africa. So may see something else. No significant swaps of Madden Julian oscillation phase. So there's several small opportunities, but nothing massive. You're not going to see the machine start going just yet. Okay. Next name on the list, by the way, is Gabrielle or Gabriel, depending on how you want to do it. I do want to point something out. I had started looking at this yesterday, though. Let's look at the equatorial Pacific water temperatures. That blue ribbon there, the equatorial Pacific, my friends, is starting to cool significantly. Now, if you've watched the weather very long, you know that when we look at, so we talk we get really in depth here on Coffee Talk, right? So we've got the Madden Julian oscillation, which looks at like lift and vorticity. Then we look at the El Nino Southern oscillation, or the ENSO. That's this. When the equatorial waters of the Pacific cool, what we end up with is referred to as a La Nina. And I would suspect that we are probably starting a trend into a La Nina. Cooler waters in the Pacific, calming the upper level winds. And with the calmer upper level winds, we end up seeing more tropical development in the Atlantic basin. Okay? So, La Nina is just one of those things that we get to watch for. I suspect then that we look at the hurricane season as a whole, we've had one, two, three, four, five, six named storms. This is probably going to end up being a backloaded hurricane season. Kind of give it, if that La Nina really picks up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that's probably what we're going to end up in. That's probably the direction we're going to end up in. So, no, we do not have anything out there named right now. The Atlantic is fairly quiet. We'll watch this one little piece of energy, but end of September, October, even November, do not be surprised if those months become very, very active, tropically speaking. Okay? All right, now questions, comments, concerns about that. All right? Randy says, just that time, boys and girls. That's right. Yeah, yeah. It's a girl name, right? Because the guy, girl, right. You're 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 right. Oh, man. Carol, did you watch DMB Live? Shoot, I forgot that there was the live stream yesterday. Oh, man. I'll have to catch it on the replay. I totally forgot. Dag nabbit. Oh, man. Taylor says, if Halloween gets ruined, I will riot. Listen, listen. Yeah, I get that. Mike, I'm Cuban. Everything is backloaded with us. Is that? Jeez Louise. Listen, I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? Like if a party starts at married into a Latin family, so it's like if a party starts at 7, people start arriving 7:30, 7:45, and if you want it to end at 9, it's going to end at midnight. So that makes sense. I've seen that for years. Tammy says pool went from 92 to 84 real fast with all the rain. Yeah, right? Patty, La Nina. Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of where we're at. Brian's asking, is the Saharan dust finally gone? We're just getting to the peak of season where you're seeing that monsoonal flow more and more playing out, right? So here's the Saharan air layer for the last 48 hours time. Give it a second, it has to go buffer the data. All right, let me widen this out. Hold on. Widen it out. So there's some Saharan dust out there, but no, not a significant amount like we've seen. Right? So yeah, I mean that makes sense. Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. All right? That's where we're at. Of course, we'll have a real in-depth tracking the tropics episode tomorrow at 10 a.m. with Jeremy Nelson. I'll have you covered. You know that. Lori, what is backloaded? In other words, calendar. Second half of hurricane season, second, third of hurricane season is going to be busy, I think. That's the way things are starting to look. Yeah. Right? Right? Buffer. It's 2025. Why do we buffer still? I have zero drop frames. So any signal issues that you guys and gals are having is not on my end. I'm pushing it perfectly. I've had zero dropped frames this entire Coffee Talk um, broadcast. All right. All right. People have been asking about the BSR. Of course. Let me get it loaded up here. Just a second. So the BSR is a teleconnection of sorts. It lets me kind of look and see perhaps what's to come. All right, it's a way to look. Jessica on YouTube. So you believe we could be going into a La Nina? I do. The pattern kind of starting to look that way for sure. All right, BSR teleconnection. Let's start looking. I have to get my phone out because there's some like calculation that goes into this. High pressure. There's an area of low pressure along an old front here. Interestingly, when is this valid? Let me just do my calculations. That's the 13th, 14th, 15th of September. September 13th, 14th, 15th. Little storm system there. Gulf type storm system. Is that a part of the weather pattern? I'm just going to look. Hold on a second. September 13th, 14th. I'm pulling up my long range forecast just to see if that fits a part of the pattern. September 13th, 14th, 15th. Actually, it does. Interesting. See, this is where it gets a little spooky. So, a little piece of energy there. Look at the October 26th part of the pattern, right? I said what? September 13th, 14th, 15th. There's September 13th, 14th, 15th. Um, it was a trough anyway. So, that part of the pattern does favor the spot that wrong button. That this is showing. So, that's interesting. All right, carrying on. Not saying it's going to be tropical, but there's something to watch there. And hybrid. Look at that big storm system. 15th, 16th, 17th. Nasty storm system moving across Texas. Interesting. That's pretty fallish. But I digress. That's a decent front that's going to die like right near us. Oh man. Right near us. That's like September 16th, 17th, 18th. There's going to be a heck of a front nearish us. Is it enough to give us like a taste of lower humidity? We'll see. But that mid September looks interesting. And then look east of us. You see that? Something there east of us. Interesting. All right. So that's something east of us. And then from there, we go here. We go to the model. Just extrapolating. There's another little piece of energy. What day is that? That is September. One, two, one, two, three. So it's like 19th, 20th, 21st. September 19th, 20th, 21st. Not as clear of a part of the pattern there. Ba, 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 ba. That's a little cold front there. That's like September 28th, 29th, 30th. Wouldn't mind. So we're really looking in this vicinity here for something. That's the next interesting piece tropically. 18th, 19th, 20th. Could be a little something. Interesting. Out east. But in terms of like for Florida, that Florida part that we were watching, that signal. Hold on, let me back it up. Right there. That's the part that's kind of interesting. That's the part that's kind of interesting. The 13th, 14th, 15th. That's the part that's kind of interesting to look at. And that fits this part of the October 20, as we put it out in our hurricane forecast at the beginning of it was February, but that fits this part of the pattern. So the October 26th Gulf low, watching that September 10th through the 17th time frame, really around the 13th, 14th, 15th, watching that time frame for us. All right, but we'll keep an eye on it. We got you covered. Don't you worry. That's what we do. That's what we do here. And on Coffee Talk, we make sure to keep you updated with no hype and no worries, any of that stuff. All right. All right. Questions, comments, concerns. Here's the 7-day forecast. We're looking good, I think. You have anything? When do the new weather patterns start? October, and that's where I'm worried we're going to end up having a really backloaded part of the season. Yep. All right. Tammy says, not going to lie, hurricane snacks were gone by June the 6th. Yep. Yep. All right. All right. That's what we've got. Thank you all for hanging out for Coffee Talk. I hope you have a great Labor Day. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. I will see you guys and gals tomorrow morning for Coffee Talk, 8 a.m., tracking the tropics at 10 a.m. And I'm off the next couple of days from work. So I'll do the things here, but I'm not putting on a suit. You got me? Okay. Be good, y'all.